I'm Dr. George Hamilton. I'm the chair that Joe just referred to at Rutgers University. I'm not a resident of the county.
Your address, please?
It is 1329 Erin Road, North Brunswick, in Middlesex County. So I'm here purely on an informational basis. I'm going to talk a little bit about managing EAB, as we call it, or emerald ash borer, once it comes into an area. I'm going to focus on talking about management for specimen trees, which I would definitely call these. As Joe has already told you, EAB, since its introduction in Michigan several years ago, has made its way across the East Coast to New Jersey. Unfortunately, a couple of years ago, on its way, it's killed millions of trees of all sizes. And unfortunately, when it gets into an area, what can be done is very limited. We basically have 4 options. In a lot of cases, people have just let things go through their normal course. Normal course is the tree is attacked by the beetle. Normally at the top of the tree, it moves its way down, and eventually the tree dies and it has to be taken down. The second course of action, which a lot of municipalities have done, is to go through and cut down every ash tree in their town. Places like Indianapolis have done this at great expense. But they have done that in situations where they don't have specimen trees like we're talking about tonight. The third thing that can be done is biological control, and that's the use of other organisms that are brought in from wherever the invasive species, like emerald ash borer, comes from, to try and bring back ecological balance. And actually, I work with biological control. I have done this with several insects. The problem with biological control, it can be very effective, but it can take a very long time to actually become effective. And several of the insects that we've worked with, we're still waiting to see some of the results from those. Our New Jersey Department of Agriculture is in the process of releasing biological control agents. There are 2 small parasitoid wasps. One attacks the larvae and one attacks the eggs. The requirements for them to do releases in an area, you have to have a certain amount of acreage, and there has to be a certain number of ash trees per acre in that area before they will do a release. That leaves us with one other option, and that's the use of insecticides. And I will tell you that I preach to my students that that's the last thing that we want to do if we do not have to. Unfortunately, with these specimen trees, I think that we are probably at that option if we want to try and save these trees. If you wait until they're infested, it's probably going to be too late. Now we have 4 options. First 2, I'm not a big fan of. They're imidacloprid and dinotefuran. You probably know them from press reports as being what's called neonicotinoid insecticides. They have a very bad rap right now for having large impacts on pollinating insects. And so they would not be something that I would suggest be used, despite the fact that ash trees are not insect pollinated, they're wind pollinated. So in terms of pollinators, they could be used, but there are other insects that might be affected by them. The second materials that can be used would be emamectin benzoate. It is very effective. And the 4th one that could be used is azadirachtin, which is a natural product from the neem tree. All of these materials are systemics. So when they are applied to the tree, they're taken in by the tree, they are redistributed, and when the insects feed on certain parts, they get a toxic dose and die. They have different effectiveness. The imidacloprid, the dinotefuran, is only effective against early instar larvae, those are the young juvenile stages, the first and second. The benzoate is effective against all of the juvenile stages, and is also very effective against the adults. The last one, as a directed, is also very effective against all juvenile stages. It's not real effective in terms of killing the adults, but it does reduce their fecundity. In other words, the females don't lay as many eggs as they would normally, and slowly the population dies. Now, these are systemic.
George,
Yes.
you reached your 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. I'll stop unless you have any questions.
Council members will be able to comment after we close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.